just got back from watching Captain America: Brave New World, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. Hey everybody, Garret from the Nodak Nerd here. 2025 is off to a beautiful start already with the February 13th release of Captain America: Brave New World. I saw it today on the 15th. Avoided spoilers somehow, which is great because part of the problem that I have with superhero movies coming out is if you're not there opening weekend, you are going to see some stuff online. But I guess the benefit of being able to not go online is you don't get to see stuff. Uh, but I was able to avoid some things. Not that there was actually a whole lot to spoil, considering what the trailers gave us. I will probably dive into a couple things later on, but in this moment, just for this little bit, I will try to keep it as spoiler free as possible. But really, Captain America: Brave New World was kind of a return to boots on the ground action, which is something I feel like the MCU has been missing for a while. Once we started to venture off into space, everything was space related. And I feel that Captain America was the perfect movie to bring us back to Earth and really just show that side of it. I think they did a great job with that. If you haven't seen the trailers, the basic rundown is General Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross is the newly elected president, which happened sometime after uh, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which was the Disney Plus TV series, and this movie. There's really no explanation. Um, I do think they actually touched a little bit of that on Secret Invasion because the president was involved in that, but they really don't get into that. Um, I also really don't think the general crowd is going to care why he's president. But if you've been keeping up with all the series like I have, then you'll kind of know that, this is where it was kind of leading to. But regardless, Thaddeus Ross is now the new president, and he wants to work with Sam Wilson, who is the new Captain America, to bring the Avengers back. And then some shenanigans go down, and Sam starts investigating what happened, and it turns into this whole huge plot. Um, Pretty basic for like a story, but I think it's kind of what we needed. There was a bit too much of everything going on in this universe. It was really nice to just bring it back to something simple um, for this movie, and I think it worked really well. I loved the casting of Ross because the previous guy, who I do not remember his name, William Hurt, that's his name. William Hurt passed away last year, I think, 2 years ago. He passed away, and they got Harrison Ford to step in, and I think Harrison Ford was better than I was anticipating. Honestly, I've never really seen Harrison Ford as like a great actor. The most things I've ever seen him in was the Star Wars, and let's be honest, nobody is showing off their acting chops in Star Wars. Everyone's hamming it up because that's what those movies are, and that's okay. That's what the audience is. That's what the audience is expecting, and it's fine. But I really haven't seen anything of his where I've been blown away by his performance. And not that this one is award winning either, but it definitely did show a lot more emotion than I was anticipating. And I think he was great. I think he filled the role well, and they explained the lack of the mustache, which was perfect because Harrison Ford was definitely not going to grow a mustache for this movie, and they worked that in really well. I thought that was kind of funny. I mean, Anthony Mackie is Sam Wilson doing his usual stuff. Um, you'll have to forgive me. I do not remember the new guy's name who's playing Falcon. That guy was fun. I loved their chemistry on screen. It was really uh, like a brothership, not so much like Sam and Bucky have. Theirs is more like a sibling rivalry kind of thing. Uh, I there's a little bit of that, I guess. Not as much though, because they obviously haven't had that long of a team teamship. Is that the word? That's not the word. They haven't had as much time as Bucky and Sam have had, but there's still like the big brother little brother kind of thing going on there, um, which was established a little bit in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but really expanded upon a little bit in this one. Um, we have Giancarlo Esposito as Sidewinder from the Serpent Society, which I'd never heard of. I should say that most of these things, like, I'm not aware of the comic counterparts to these. I pretty much know the MCU as what the superhero stuff is, so I haven't seen or like read any comics enough to know what any of this is. Um, I know some people were going to be a little upset that they didn't make him look like a serpent, but I guess I don't know how you do that with this kind of movie. I think what they did for him was handled really well. Anytime Giancarlo's on screen, he's amazing. So I thought his character was great. Um, I thought the overall look of the movie was great. It looked like it was shot really well. There was a nitpicky thing that I'll get to in a second, but for the most part, I will say that this movie was shot well. Nothing was super confusing. I was able to follow it without any problems. Piece together little bits here and there to come up with how they came to the conclusion to the movie. Um, there's the one post-credit scene which didn't really shed the light on too much. It was just a little crumb that they hand you, but we'll just give them that because of how these last couple MCU movies have gone. Where they've really just kind of like teed it up and then have done nothing with it. Uh, this one they did, but not in a here we're going to show you this, but never do anything with it. They really just gave the tiniest bit of a tease, and I don't know. I mean, honestly, I think I'm okay with that at this point because this year there's going to be two more movies coming out, and I really think that those two are going to really uh, bring the MCU to back what people think it should be. And I guess we'll see what happens when Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four First Steps comes out. Now to get into the meat and potatoes of this. So, spoilers from this point on. If you're still watching, appreciate it. I want to hear some opinions of what you thought of the movie. That would be great. If you think some of my assessments are weird or whatever, like constructive criticism, bring it on. I want to hear it. So they teased his character coming back with casting, which is really frustrating to me. I wish that we would stop getting the casting of who's in these movies. I just want the movies to come out. I wish there was a truly a good way to avoid any of that stuff without just being chronically offline. But I would love to just be able to, oh, this new movie's coming out, and then you watch the trailer and you don't know who's in it really, and then all of a sudden you go watch the movie and then you just get to take everything in. So with knowing they casted Tim Blake Nelson to come back, who, if you remember, back in 2008, 2007, 2008, I believe, was when the Incredible Hulk with Edward Norton came out. Tim Blake Nelson was in that as a scientist, Samuel Stearns. Um, and they teased in that movie that he got some of the Hulk's blood in his mouth or eyeball or something, and then his head started like quivering, and then they cut away, and then they do absolute nothing with that character from that time. And they also got rid of Betsy Ross too. You don't hear anything from her at all. And um, when they announced that Tim Blake Nelson was coming back, it's like, ooh, that's a good call to bring this character back from almost 20 years ago at this point to reprise his character. And the way they wrote him into the movie, I thought was really well done. He played a very cool kind of puppeteer pulling the strings guy in this movie. I know nothing of his comic counterpart, so I don't know how he works, but they made him look really cool in the movie. I thought the way that everything tied up into that made a lot of sense to me, and it was a neat storyline. I thought they did introduce Red Hulk. I and Obviously that was teased in the movie trailer, so you knew it was coming. I honestly thought there was going to be a little more Red Hulk, but there wasn't, which is fine. Just a little spoon feed of here's this cool character that you may see later on. Given Harrison Ford's current age, who knows if it will be him again or if it will be somebody else. Not that I'm wishing ill on Harrison Ford at all, because as I said a couple of minutes ago, I thought he did a great job. I just don't know if he's going to be around for when they need him again. But that whole part was really cool. I really enjoyed that whole sequence. Um, there was a moment where I thought uh, uh, Betty Ross was going to come in and calm him down, like uh, almost said Scarlett. I know that's her name. Scarlett Johansson's Black Widow would do to Mark Ruffalo's Hulk. I thought that was going to happen. It did, in a way, when Sam confronted Red Hulk after their incredulous battle, and he mentioned Betty, and the Hulk just kind of relaxed, and all of a sudden we have President Ross calm again. Um, and they really just kind of planted these little things of Betty throughout the movie just to show that Ross has been without contact with Betty for quite a while since that whole thing happened. Um, and then at the end of the movie, when she comes in and they're going to have their little talk, it was a nice sentimental moment to just see her come back in, even if it was just for a little bit. It was nice. Like I said, I still wish that they would have maybe tried to bring the Hulk in at this point to like fight against Red Hulk. That would have been a really cool fight, because while I don't necessarily agree with every online opinion, I do feel like the Hulk needs to just be there more, and he's not. And it's really frustrating because if you go back to like the Incredible Hulk, that Hulk was vicious. That Hulk was mean, and uh, we haven't seen a lot of that. We've seen fights here or there, like in the Avengers, he was good. Had some moments in some of the other ones. I mean, even in Thor Ragnarok, at least there was some aggression there too. But uh, haven't really seen a whole lot since. And this would have been a perfect opportunity, I feel, for them to have him come in and toss around the president at least for a little bit or something. But they didn't mention it. They didn't really do a whole lot with it. With the Hulk, the only thing that happened is when he transformed. One of the agents or whatever said, "I didn't know they were red," which was kind of funny. I don't know why he was red. Maybe it was because of the pills that the leader was given them or given to President Ross. But uh, I don't know. I don't know. But it happened and it was fine. I do love that they brought Tiamat in um, and introduced adamantium, which was what the main point of the movie is to like introduce adamantium into the world. All of the world's nations are going to sign a treaty to utilize adamantium together to all unite, which is interesting. Obviously, if you're at least nerdy enough to know what adamantium's for, you know what that means as far as heroes coming in the future. I don't know how they'll implement that. Very interested to see how they work that into adding mutants into the MCU. Only time will tell how they do it, aside from the little teaser that they did in the Marvels. But I'm all for it. I'm embracing everything that's coming because they're fun movies. So I'm just having fun with it. Um, my one gripe that I had that I mentioned earlier that I'll get to is during that scene with Tiamat where we have Falcon and we have Captain America flying to go visit President Ross on the carrier to talk to him. And there were some inconsistencies with the time of day. And that kind of happened earlier when they were going to the one base. Uh, the lighting was just all over the place. Like when they're flying there, it looked like it was the sun was setting. At one point, it looked dark. And then at the end of the fight, it was light again. Like, can we? I'm just an average moviegoer, and I'm picking up on those things. You have an entire team of people, VFX, editors, all these kind of people working on these things tirelessly, and you couldn't catch that the time of day seemed to appear differently. And maybe I'm mistaken, and I will own up to that if that is truly the case. But this isn't the only time where I've noticed these things too in these movies, and it gets really frustrating. Where it's like, you guys, if you just have the average person watch this and they notice it, then fix it. I can't imagine it's that hard to just go in and just, dial up or dial down the lighting depending on what it is or change some color. I don't think it's that difficult. But it really kind of took me out of it. It's like, come on, guys. This is a multi-million-dollar budget movie and you cannot get your skies right. That's really disappointing. But that was really kind of the only inconsistency that I saw with that. I feel like everything else flowed pretty well. Um, I would say the acting from the main people really stood out. There was one soldier that seemed to be kind of hamming it up a bit, which is a little, kind of takes you out of it a little bit, but not terrible. Uh, there was one other cameo that was unexpected, and then as soon as I saw him on screen, I was, raising my fist in the theater because Bucky shows up, and that was cool because, like I mentioned before, him and Sam, they have that sibling rivalry kind of friendship, and it was a really tender moment, but it still was those two interacting as they do, which is really good. So overall, the movie was great. I thoroughly enjoyed myself at the theater. I'm really happy that this one seemed to deliver on what the trailer was promising. And it gives me some more hope that Kevin Feige at Marvel has kind of seen the not the error of his ways, but just that things maybe haven't been going as smooth as they were hoping, and that's these next couple releases because we are going to be having Daredevil next month, which I'm very excited for. A couple months after that, we're going to have the Thunderbolts movie out, and then we are also going to have Fantastic Four First Steps out in the summer. So those are the next three big hits from Marvel, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what they have in store with those next properties. Uh, with the conclusion of this video, here's what I'm going to do is I am going to step onto my computer the next time I record a video. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to one of those tier list sites and I'm going to finally do a ranking of all of the MCU titles because I think that after having watched at least that original run more than a handful of times, I did just finish the last phase fairly recently. Within the last week, I finished everything. I just want to put it down on paper in a sense, how I feel about these movies and just really kind of talk about them out loud and get these thoughts out because, I think that's a fun thing to do. I've watched people do that on YouTube and it's entertaining just to kind of see where their brain goes. And the MCU has had so many movies that there's a lot of content out there. And it would just be interesting to see, you know, how my list would stack up based on how I felt about each of these projects. And out of everything, I was talking to my friends I went to the movie with today. Out of everything that the MCU has come out with, all the movies and all of the live action TV shows, because I've not watched What If and I have not finished Friendly Neighborhood Spider Man. Out of all the live action stuff, there's literally only one thing I can think of that I would never watch again. But overall, I still would put time and effort into watching everything. I just may enjoy some more than others. But that's to come in the future. So if you're still here, thank you for watching this. I appreciate it. Let me hear in the comments what you thought of Captain America Brave New World if you saw it. And let's have a discussion.